This is just my life every day. Every
Okay,
day.
that's correct one.
What's up, folks? How you doing? How you doing? We have not had a family meeting this week. So
It's
we
Friday
are
night.
having a family meeting on a Friday night. On Wednesday, when I would have done a family meeting, I had my oldest nephew's award ceremony. So he's graduating from 12th grade and he's played all 4 years on the varsity baseball team. And I, yeah, base, yeah, the varsity baseball team. And so he got like these awards and his letters for his letterman jacket and all that, and I could not miss it. Like, y'all, the family meeting had to wait, y'all. I'm sorry. But it was such a good time to be together, to be with my family, to see my nephew and all that he's accomplished in his high school career. And now he is off to college in a couple of weeks. He's going to go in July. He actually graduates next week. And so, yeah, we might not have a family meeting next week either. Y'all, the emotions of having a 12th grader. Like, I do not know what to do with myself. I feel like my brother and my sister-in-law, I tell them all the time, like, you guys did this to me. Like, why didn't nobody put me up on game that when they hit 12th grade and they graduate, there's so many emotions. As an aunt, I was not ready. And I am not ready. I don't know what to do. And so that is where I was this week. Yesterday we had meetings and things like that. And so we didn't do a family meeting yesterday. So here we are today. And today we're just going to talk about the tomfoolery that is happening around our nation, in government, and of course with us Christians. So let's start off with what happened in Seattle this week. Hey, Future. This week, and I think it started actually on the 24th, so it would have started last weekend. There was going to be a prayer in the park kind of thing through Christian. What I could say the organization's name is Christians Engaged, and they were doing a May Day kind of event where they were going to gather and worship and pray in the park and things like that. And they were having it this Christians Engaged group is actually having these events in different cities around the US. I believe they're having it in 5 major cities. Seattle was one, and that was last weekend. Or yeah, I think it was last weekend. This coming weekend, they're gonna do one here in LA, in Hollywood, right by like Highland in Hollywood, if you're in the area. And then they're gonna move on to Texas, and I think there's a couple cities, or at least one more city right after that. But Seattle showed up, and they showed up in all their little Antifa glory. And so when the people applied for their permits, I think they had a tough time getting their permits, but they finally received their permits. And on the day of the event, ended up being met with Antifa trans protesters, and I think it's called Transtifa. And so there were something like 20 to 25 arrests of people who came to actually protest. And it sparked this whole conversation in the city of Seattle of, are Christians being oppressed and marginalized? Are their voices being silenced? Is this being done systematically? Systematically, I just bit my tongue. And is the mayor a part of that? How are Christian voices being silenced in that area? And so there was a huge protest. They actually stopped the event, from what I understand, and the mayor himself came out and spoke against the right wing, far right wing, is what he would call them, and Christian people who were in the park to have this prayer service. Part of the issue is that this service was also being held in the same Chaz Park, that park where Antifa in 2020 like set up camp and burn things and all of that. And so Antifa felt like, hey, you're on our property. How dare you come and have this service on our property? But they're like, well, it's a park. It's public property for anyone. And so I don't know if you showed any of that, the link, but we can go and actually play. See, and these people, they're not playing. These Christians, I'm like, kudos to y'all. So they actually had like a small conversation about this. got posted to Twitter, and they are actually calling out some of the shenanigans and antics of the mayor and his hatred toward anyone who isn't left wing, and how he actually has his own, set of issues and things like that. And so, how dare you now come and stop us from being able to protest? You want to play that one?
I don't know if you sent me that one.
You sent it to me, Krista.
Oh,
That's
on the sheet. Oh,
yes. Sorry, I thought that she was ready, but here we are. Here we are. While she is now doing what I thought she was doing, she's just over here not ready. That's okay. It's my fault because I didn't give her. I normally send her like a little list of things. Y'all, it's Friday.
Okay,
we done. Are you ready? Cool. Yeah. So listen to this guy. He and we won't play the whole thing, but listen to some of what the Christians are now saying. Like, how dare you look at your laundry list, but you want to, come and say that we were in the wrong for wanting to peacefully protest. I don't even think it was a protest. It was actually just a gathering in the park of being able to pray for their city. They wanted to take back, it's kind of like one of those take back our cities, prayer for our cities, not our kids. They are actually wanting to stand for biblical values, not transing our kids, not deconstructing marriage. Go ahead.
And when the mayor has the audacity to put out a statement blaming us, blaming you, your fault because you don't have the same values as Seattle. What are the values of Seattle? What are the values of Seattle, Mayor Bruce Harrell? The values of record fentanyl overdoses, the value of lawlessness, the value of homelessness at an all-time high, the value of 90% increase in drug overdose deaths, the value of property crime being off the chart, the value of families not even wanting to raise their kids in the Emerald City, which used to be known for its shine. What values? The same mayor who has criminal charges against him because before he ran for public office, he got in a road rage fit with a woman who was 8 months pregnant and pointed a gun at her in a parking lot. The same mayor who has covered up for the sexual indiscretions of several members of his team at Seattle City Hall and kept them on the payroll while their victims are trying to put back together their lives. The same mayor who, by the way, covered up for his boss, the former mayor of Seattle, Ed Murray, who was credibly accused of molesting 5 little boys. What values, Mr. Mayor, are you so opposed to that the church is talking about?
Okay, go ahead.
The church is not the problem.
This young man said, mess around.
He's the pastor.
Yes, he is a pastor. I think there were a few pastors that were a part of the group. He said, mess around and find out. He said, I'm going to stand 10 toes down. Not today, Satan. I wish you would. He said, you want to talk about it? Pull up. And I am so proud of that, because too often we just kind of go into the background. Well, it didn't work out. He said, not today. Not today. And he took it right to the social media streets. He said, well, you want to call me out here? Let's bring this to the public. You want to talk about my stuff? Let's talk about your stuff. You think that I'm at fault? Let's talk about you being at fault. You have a problem with my values? Let's look and see, what are your values? What are the values of our mayor that is, creating the system that we have in our city and the confusion that is in our city? And he put it all the way out there. And I said, okay, you go. And I am glad that he did, because more than this being, something of like, let me tell you the dirt, the issue. He said, these are the values that are creating the issues that we have. We have men in charge who have no values. They don't value the family. They don't value children. What they do value is chaos, and we gonna talk about it. So I don't know. Seattle is a hot mess. The Northwest is a hot mess. I am praying that as they bring this event to LA this weekend, that it all goes well. I think it's this weekend. It wasn't last weekend, I don't think. I was
No,
looking
it's
at it.
tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow. That all goes well and that people don't pop off. I was telling Krista, Antifa hasn't really kicked off, I don't feel like, in LA. And so I'm grateful for that. The Northwest is really saturated in it.
Do you
And
want to play a little bit from the
oh
song?
yeah, our friend Katie Faust was at the second. So after the thing got shut down, they actually went back and did a second day of this prayer in the park thing. And I think it was at a different location. And Katie Faust actually went. She lives up in that area in the Pacific Northwest and took some video. Go ahead.
Let's see who we got here.
Surely it was through. Since when is it possible that it's all you? You see,
Some of the pictures.
Yeah.
Why those Christians are gathering at City Hall is because they oppose me because I'm the first biracial mayor in the city. I don't care if you're biracial, bipolar, or bisexual. We just want you to go bye-bye. It's time for the mayor to resign. Reason.
See, here's another one. Anyways, those are all kids.
Me and Chris just having mic issues that, both of our mics on. We just blaring through the waves. Sorry, y'all. So that was some of it, but we had, I think somebody wrote in about it and then Krista had told me about it. This week has been so hectic. I didn't know anything about it, but I do think it's good for Christians to stand, to pray, to say, hey, no, we actually do have a voice. We want to use our voice and not just to shy away. I don't think that anyone in the group was intentionally antagonistic or wanting to cause ruckus within the city of Seattle. I do think that we should be able to have the same rights as Transtifa or Antifa and the trans activists who want to, they call theirs their peaceful protest too. BLM would have a peaceful protest and burn down your whole neighborhood. So why can't we have the right to gather, to meet, to pray, and to do all of that? Krista has her finger up. I'm not.
There's one more.
Okay, she says she has one more.
One more.
Let them go ahead and be wrong until one day they're corrected by a higher power. You just keep doing what's right. You just keep your eyes on God. You just keep in that same spirit. Keep in that same flow. Somebody's got to take a stand. I was born in this city. I was raised in this city. I went to public school in this city. I held my first job in this city. And what the other side wants you to do is they get so exasperated by their juvenile antics that you run. But the people of God don't run from the problem. We run to the problem because we are the solution for the problem. Let them go ahead and be wrong.
I'm glad that she played that clip because like I was saying before she started the clip, we should be able to gather. We should be able to, also have a voice in a city and have a forum where the best ideas or the best ideologies win out. But when you silence voices in the name of tolerance or in the name of kindness, then you don't always hear all of the ideas. And that can be discouraging. This morning I was on my way in, I think, and I made a video about it. I might release it later today, but just talking about being faithful. Just be faithful. As long as we remain faithful and put our hand to the things that, God is calling us to do, and being faithful, like we will see a result. A life will be changed. And yeah, I don't know, there's something about that video just reminded me, like, hey, be faithful, stay in the city, stay where you are, and be faithful to what God has called you to do without falling into discouragement or to despair. Even when things look discouraging or despairing, remain faithful in serving God who has called you to have the next conversation, or to go back to that job that you might be like, Lord, when am I going to be done? Or, to have that call with that, friend who completely disagrees with you. Remain faithful. Anyway, let's see here. The next thing I wanted to talk about, y'all. Oh, I don't know if I really want to go this way. I'm gonna go to the public service stuff. So let's go to that one. Yeah. No. So let me give a little setup. We're gonna watch a video by a woman. Her name is Ekemini Uwan, and she is a part of the Truth Table podcast. Truth Table was a podcast that I first found out about in like the early 2000s. And it used to be more of them, but I think now it's only Christina Edmonton and Ekemini Uwan. And Ekemini Uwan is someone who has like spoken before the UN, is on reparations, making sure that they are, or that she is speaking in support of reparations. She, I think, would consider herself like a Black apologist. I don't know if she would go down the track of saying she's womanist, because I don't really think that she is yet, but the way in which she brings everything to the Christian table, I'll say, is through this Black lens first. She is the one, if any of you remember the Sparrow Conference of 2020, she's the Black woman who was on the discussion and basically was like, hey, look, y'all need to start recognizing Black people and, the fact that whiteness is wicked and all of that. And so there's a video on your channel or CFBU? On Krista's Theology Mom channel about the whole whiteness is wicked and Sparrow Conference and things like that. But I've noticed that she has, I haven't seen her for a little while, anyway, a couple years, but she's made, or at least she started to come back through my feed. And I saw this video of her that really caused me some concern. So I'm going to play that.
You may or may not have heard about the big, beautiful bill that the Republicans are trying to pass under the cover of darkness. And who tries to do anything under the cover of darkness unless there's nothing but darkness within the bill? And let me tell you, this bill is anything but beautiful. It is straight out of the pit of hell, as this bill seeks to gut the social safety net. Medicaid is on the line. 1 in 5 enrollees in Medicaid is Black. That means your mom, your dad, your sister, your mama, and your cousin too, okay, will be impacted. Even you could be impacted by Medicaid cuts. And we don't want to lose coverage for our people. This is personal, it's urgent, and these cuts to health insurance put health insurance coverage in jeopardy for 13 million Americans. 64% of Black mothers' deliveries are covered by Medicaid. And y'all know that there is already a critical Black maternal mortality crisis in this country. We cannot afford not one cut. We need Black motherhood to thrive, and we need Black babies to thrive and come into this world alive so that they can have a good future with an expected end. More than half of Black children get their health care through Medicaid, and we can't let the Republicans and this wicked regime jeopardize their future. Our kids deserve better, and they deserve care, not cuts. So then let's talk about Pell Grants. 75% of HBCU students rely on them. The budget puts their college dreams at risk. Can we afford for the Black middle class to be gutted and decimated? No, we cannot. We need to ensure that our children are getting the education, the college education that they desire and that they have a right to. Then Head Start, okay? Head Start, there's over 25% of kids in Head Start are actually Black kids. And this could undermine early education and child care. And then school meals and SNAP, of which I was a recipient of. 3 million Americans in need will lose food assistance, including many of which 1 in 5 Black children already face food insecurity. We don't need cuts to the social safety net. If anything, we need more, okay? This bill redistributes wealth to billionaires. And aren't y'all tired of the rich taking from the poor? Aren't y'all tired of the rich eating the poor? When will enough be enough? So here is my call to action to y'all. What can you do? Call your Congress member and urge them to protect healthcare, education, and food programs that
When I first saw this video, I was so sad. And I was frustrated, but I was really sad because all she's doing is calling people into socialism. And I even wrote that comment on that page. I was just like, this doesn't sound biblical. It actually sounds like you're just promoting socialism. Instead of calling people to actually work, to get off of welfare programs, not to have, you know, more than half of the children born, of Black babies born, being born on Medicaid. Instead of doing that, she wants us to advocate so that Black people can continue to receive those services. That is not the human flourishing that we see in Scripture. I am confused as to, instead of looking at what a biblical response to poverty is, a biblical response to those who may not have, instead, what she calls us to do is to increase government spending on the poor or on those who may not be poor, because part of what we're seeing with our government spending in regards to welfare programs is a lot of this is just scams. It's just people scamming. But because of the color of someone's skin, because she sure ain't said nothing about white people or Hispanics or Asians who also are recipients of welfare, we got to make sure that we taken care of, because you got as much melanin as I do, so we can all be taken care of. She's a hot mess. She's a hot mess calling for Black people to continue to stay on welfare. I think it's something like 30% of welfare recipient or of Medicaid recipients, I believe, are Black women. So if that's the correct number, and we make up 64, I think that was her number, 64% of the births on Medicaid. Why do we continue to have these babies on Medicaid? What if we actually call people to abstinence? What if we call people to a lifestyle that was different than what they're used to, instead of calling people to more of the same? What has us having a relationship with our government done for us? Not just Black people, but anybody. Who is actually becoming not poor through living off of Medicaid? Out here, we call it Medi-Cal, SNAP, Section 8. I used to work in social service, and there is really no pathway out. But yet, this is what the gatekeepers of a lot of Black church talk, this is what you invited into.
Well, this is what they're calling
This is what you're invited into. I didn't hear what you said.
This is what they're calling justice.
Krista said this is what they're calling justice, but it's kind of like this is our reparation. You deserve to sit here and not work? Give me your biblical warrant for it. Give me your book, chapter, and verse, because I don't understand how we can say the government should take care of me. The government should take care of you. Head Start. Who is responsible for educating our kids? I just made a post today on my personal page about a book that I'm reading called Queering Straight Teachers. And it's the intentional push to get queer theology into our schools and to queer the teachers who aren't identifying as queer, who don't in sex or gender identify as queer, but how do we queer them in their mind to get them to become allies and do the things that we need them to do? But this is what you're advocating for, sending your kid to Rome to be educated by Caesar, instead of saying, why don't y'all pull your money together and start some kind of co-op? Why don't you pull your kids from Head Start? No, this many Black kids. This is why the Black community is in the shambles it's in, because we continually advocate for these social programs. And the Democrat Party understands that as long as they continue to give Black people a bone, we're going to continue to sit at the dish. And she plays right into it. But it's funny, the people who liked her post. I saw Esau McCauley, the guy who wrote Reading While Black, liked her post. Y'all, we need to, I was just on a call today, and the girl I was talking to, we were talking about school board stuff. And she was like, you need to go in and look at the people who like the posts, but then also look at the people who follow them and that they follow. And so I just happened to look at who liked this post. She has another post on there where she's speaking at the UN about reparations. Who liked that post? Jackie Hill Perry. Help me make it make sense. But this is what we mean too when we say, like, you have to really investigate. Nobody's going to be perfect 100% of the time. I will raise my hand and say I am not perfect 100% of the time. I am not a perfect person at all at any time. But if I'm wrong, like, let me know so that I can repent, I can correct it. What I never want to do is be one way in front of people and another way when it's only a like. I don't know. I got questions for Jackie Hill Perry, though. I really do. I got questions. Because if you standing over here talking about, this is a biblical sexual ethic, but then you over here supporting reparations with your girl, Ekemini, like, help me make it make sense. I don't know. Maybe that's just what it is. Maybe some people, we going to be right over here, but we're not going to be right over there. But that's what we see. That's what Kevin and I were talking about on Off Code when we talked about that whole thing with Melissa Doherty and Allie Beth Stuckey and somebody like Eric Mason. Kevin used to follow Eric Mason 10 toes down. But then what? While you can properly exegete the text on the book of Isaiah, but when it comes to reparations, you think that all Black people should get $200,000 in free education and counseling for the rest of their life and this, that, and the third. I can't make it make sense. Le Chat says it's the melanin colored glasses. Ariel says, I'm so bummed about Jackie Hill Perry and her hubby. They're missing it on this topic. Yeah. Surprised she cares about Black children, but doesn't talk about Black babies in the womb who never make it out at a rate above every other. Make it make sense. You can't make it make sense. They want to say womb to tomb. And so this was a term that I used to use all the time, literally caring for someone from the womb to the tomb. But I didn't realize that other people use the womb to the tomb phraseology in a much different way. But how do we care for babies who are in the womb all the way through? But that's not social programs. That's not how God has designed us to flourish. And so now everybody's up in arms because SNAP is about to be cut. People are up in arms because of, HUD and potential changes that are coming to HUD. But no one's asking, why aren't these people working? I am not anti-welfare. As strong as I may come out against these things, I'm not 100% completely against welfare programs. I think that they should be very minimal. I think it needs to be very strategic. But I am not completely just solely like, bye. Nor am I a proponent of, hey, look, you've been on welfare for the last 27 years. We cutting you off tomorrow. You got to go find it. Like, bye, just bye. Like, go find a job. Like, that isn't going to work. And it's actually going to put people in a worse position than what they might already be in, because our government has not set people up for success. I remember there was this whole like 2-year cap thing. I want to say it may have come in under Clinton, where people could be on welfare for only 2 years, and especially like the cash aid portion, and they had to turn in their like their interview sheet and make sure that they were following up and calling, and then you had to turn that into your social worker and all. But none of that worked, because it's not really designed to set people up for success. Because as soon as I get so much money in my bank account, they're gonna find out, and then I'm gonna be kicked off. We have done such a disservice to humans in our nation by having a welfare state that allows people to just ride the coattails of the system. And now people are looking into it and saying, this person been on welfare for 130 years. They died 29 years ago. And yet somebody's still receiving welfare. But to correct those things, to tell able-bodied people that they should go to work, well, that's going to bring out the Black apologists to be all up in their feelings, because 64% of our children are born on welfare, or because we need Pell Grants, or because we need Head Start. I mean, I was a recipient of Head Start and I got a Pell Grant. It does not make it right. We have to be able to raise our children, regardless of skin color, in an understanding that hard work is the way forward. Hard work is a biblical answer. Adam had a job before he had Eve. You need to understand this. I was telling somebody, maybe it was Krista, that I grew up thinking that as soon as you turned 18, you got Section 8. And I couldn't wait to move out. I was like, yes, because I can be on my own. That isn't the way the world works. But if all kids see is welfare and, SNAP benefits and, all of these things, why do I need to have, these high goals of getting a job? Why do I need to think about if grants are just going to be the thing that's available to me, especially because of my skin color? Why do I need to think about how I'm going to work my way through college? Like, we need to be thinking about the benefit of hard work. Let's start by making sure our students can read the big, beautiful bill for themselves. When our students can't read, y'all, but yet she's upset that Head Start could potentially be cut. Why? The kids can't read no way. Why? Why are you so upset that the kids that can't read are going to get funds cut from them? But has she actually read the bill? And who are the people who are actually going to be cut from this bill? Yeah. Let me go to some comments before I get off of here. We all used to follow Eric Mason until y'all did that family meeting a while back. Oops. What? I didn't see the one you put up there on the screen, Krista. Star Parker has wisdom on the welfare issue. Replying to Meg, was just going to mention, get off the plantation. Yeah. They aren't telling the whole story. The specific details include able-bodied. It's not, and that's what I'm saying. It can't be everyone. But those who are able-bodied need to be doing something. That's a biblical principle. We see that all through scripture. And so and this is why I started out saying that the video originally frustrated me, but it really made me sad, because instead of calling people to human flourishing, to do something biblical, we call people to rely on the government. And basically what she's saying is rely on the government, the side of the government that encourages you to kill your kids. Even though out of the other side of her mouth, she says, we need healthy Black babies born. Well, how are you advocating for healthy Black babies to be born when you tell them to go and support the people who tell them to kill their kids? You can't make it make sense. This is what I mean when people speak out both sides of their face. She literally speaking out both sides of her face. This side. Make sure that you support this side because they're gonna give 64% and we can't have our Black babies being born unhealthy. This side. We need to da. And you call no, it don't make no sense. It don't make no sense. So yeah, I am beyond myself with Miss Ekemini Uwan, and I think I'm gonna probably do a little bit more content on her because we need to understand, like, this is a mess. And who are the people who support this mess? Just because they didn't get on a video and say we support reparations, honey, that like sure do say a lot. It really does. Doesn't the Bible tell families to care for the elderly and the church, the widows and orphans? So I just read this a couple of days ago. Families are supposed to care for their family, including anyone in your family who might be an orphan or a widow. The church steps in if that widow does not have family to take care of her. Or I guess a widower. But before that, it says that if you are young enough, if the widow is young enough, they need to go get a job. So it wasn't just like this, well, I'm 29 and I became a widow, so now let me go and have the church, take care of me. The work is all through the Bible. We see it in Genesis all the way to the end. Like there is this thought that if you are able-bodied, you should work. It makes sense when you Uwan is platform. Uwan is platform, but honey, those her best friends. I didn't say who. Krista, she giving me like 99 thoughts at the same time. I love this woman. Look at her over here laughing. Y'all, I wish I could turn my camera around. I'll be so glad when her reduction in hours is over so she can sit next to me again. But yes, Ekemini Uwan is platformed by the Jude 3 Project. Yes, who is what's that girl's name? Fields, Lisa Fields. But so is Jamar Tisby. Jamar Tisby, maybe I'm gonna do some content on Jamar Tisby because he got a whole thing going too. Y'all, it's this Black-centric identity and Black-centric Christianity that has to go. And just because I say it's Black-centric does not mean that it's only Black people. Like, we need to understand that too. You got a lot of people of varying shades and varying ethnicities who also have a Black-centric identity process or a Black-centric Christianity or some kind of other ethnocentric Christianity. Think of Romero, what's his name? Chow, I think, Brown Church. Robert Chow, Brown Church.
Robert Chow Romero.
So this whole idea of Christianity through the lens of my ethnicity, which then leads us to support only our ethnicity. But the body of Christ is not this skin color dependent organization. We aren't separated off by our varying skin color shades. When we come into Christ, we're brothers and sisters. And so now if my sister needs help, I'm going to step in to help my sister. Skin color becomes irrelevant. We are brothers and sisters. I don't get on live and like, you know what, we need to go write your Senate, go write your council members, go write your mayor because all the Black people are about to get kicked off welfare. It just makes no sense.
This is good content.
I'm so thankful that my husband has a biblical view on taking care of our parents. He would have them living up in our home tomorrow if they wanted to. Aw, that's awesome. I was typing the same thing. They have taken a disturbing turn. Don't get me started. Ask Kevin about the podcast. Oh, okay. I will ask Kevin about the podcast you sent him. But yeah, people. So I was going to talk about, public benefits and all that because SNAP was in the news a lot this week. Actually, I'm going to do a podcast with a friend who is like a nutrition coach and look at, can a family eat, decently for a limited amount of money, because part of the argument with reducing SNAP funds is that, well, people aren't going to be able to eat, or even if the SNAP funds remain the same, taking away the option of getting candy and soda and things like that, well, people won't be able to survive. People buy soda because it's cheaper than buying water. And, water is expensive, and water that comes out of your tap isn't clean and things like that. Or people use it at fast food restaurants because it's cheaper than buying meat, in the grocery store and things like that. And so I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and she was like, that actually isn't true. Families can actually use their EBT card, which used to be called food stamps. They can use their food stamps and buy decent meals and eat decently. You might not be shopping at Whole Foods, but what are some of the strategies, and is it true? I just want to answer that question because it's everywhere. Out of compassion and kindness, being like Jesus, we need to increase people's SNAP benefits and make sure that they can buy soda and things like that. And it's just not true. Let's see. What are you looking at me like that for?
That's exactly what I said last month, and you
She
were
don't
like-
pay no attention to the little person
You-
behind the curtain,
You
folks.
were like, no, that's not true.
Mo has a list of about 30 podcasts she needs to. I do. I really do. Why do so many Christians look to the government to do work we are commanded to do? Because they don't have a biblical framework for it. We don't have a biblical framework for work. I don't see many people talking about a proper work ethic. What is a biblical theology of work? That is something Krista turned me on to a while ago. And we also don't have a biblical understanding of government. I learned that this spring. I talked about it maybe last family meeting, just on how so many of the young people that I talk to think that the government should be doing all these things. This is the role of the government biblically because of kindness. And so when we read something like Romans 13, or when we read in the Old Testament where, there's an idea of a smaller government and not having all these people rule over you all the time and their taxations and things like that, I don't think many people understand the role of government or can make a theological case for how government should run for the benefit of the people. And so, yes, when that happens, then you want to say, well, we need more welfare programs. We need all of these socialist policies. We also need to just keep it 100 and understand that socialism is in the church. The socialism is in the church, and because socialism is in the church, many people knowingly or unknowingly give a socialist gospel, and that's not just the Black church. So, yes, they take food stamps for Pabst Murphy's pizza. I could live off pizza. I don't know what Pabst Murphy's pizza is.
Papa Murphy's. It's
Well,
a
I don't
type
know.
of-
Papa, I don't have my glasses on. It said
It's
Pabst.
a type of chain.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's like Papa John's. They got Papa Murphy. I have no idea. But you can, down here anyway, Kim, you can use your food stamps basically at any fast food restaurant. And, I have definitely been one. This is what Krista was yelling at me for just a minute ago. I have definitely been one to use the argument that, well, I can go to Carl's Jr. and get 3 sandwiches, 1 fry, and 3 cups of water, and only spend like $6 and feed my kids, dinner. And so I was talking to, like I said, I was talking to my friend, and she was like, actually, you can do this and, make it stretch and actually get a leftover meal from it. And I was like, oh, I was wrong. I didn't tell Krista I was wrong because #pride, but she found out now. Don't start with me. Don't start. That is, let's do a show soon on socialism in the church. I debated a self-proclaimed Marxist recently, and we'd have a great time talking that through. You rock. Thanks. Thanks. I'll reach out to you, friend. My husband and I found so much help from our local church, not in social justice sense, but just helping brothers and sisters in Christ. Yes, but even in this social welfare sense, how do we as a community of believers, your local community, have things set up for the believers in their church? Like Krista, I remember last year sometime I think it was when Katie Faust was on, and Katie said, "You need to have a theology of getting fired." And I said, "Wait a minute, what?" And it made so much sense. Like, what am I willing to stand for? Biblically speaking, where can I not cross and understand that my theology may lead me to being fired? But as a pastor, and I'm not a pastor, but as pastors and leaders, elders in churches, we want our congregations and our congregants to be thinking this way, to have a biblical mindset, which may lead to them being fired. So what are we doing? How are we setting aside savings in case the mortgage come due and they haven't found a job yet, but we know that they're out there, hustling and working to make ends meet? When they said they had all things in common, I don't know that we understand that really anymore. Like, what did that mean at that time? Were they just out here giving to all the people, all the people? You an atheist, you don't believe in Jesus at all, but you came to my doorstep. You blatantly said you didn't want to hear nothing about Jesus, but you did ask that we pay your light bill. And well, we have a benevolence fund, so we'll pay your light bill. See, I that ain't for me. And if I'm wrong, I will gladly say that I'm wrong, but that ain't me. I am looking the same way I'm gonna look in my house and I'm gonna say, what's going on? What's the needs in my house? Let me go ahead and help meet the needs in my house. And then I'm gonna look in my church community. What's going on in my church community? But when old Joe Schmo come walking up talking about he hate my God, but he ain't got no lights, I'm sorry. It sounds like you in a predicament, ain't it? You're right. Most churches point people to social services when people are in need. Yes. Food pantries and churches are non-existent in my neck of the woods. Yeah. I mean, I've done both. I have been part of a social justice type ministry in a church that could connect people to get on Medi-Cal, that would connect people to food stamps, or that would do big drives for specific things, and all of that, and that would bless the community. We would give and give and give our last to the community. But when somebody in the church didn't have lights, when somebody in the church needed something, then all of a sudden it was like, we didn't have enough. This story for another time, but my whole thoughts of when I used to gripe and bemoan my little stories to Krista. Bemoan, I don't know if that's a word. Bemoan my little stories to Krista about why I couldn't stand the church. When I got back from Africa, y'all, I couldn't stand the church. I did not want to go to church at all, because I was like, they don't care about their people. Then I got a better theology. Food pantries, I that was my last job before I came to run CFBU. Is food. It was a food pantry set up by a church, and they eventually split off from the church, but they were doing a ton of good work. We were serving, especially during the height of COVID, and our 3 locations, we could easily serve 300 people a night. I mean, 300 people, per night at whatever location we were at. And so food pantries served their place, but that food pantry was run by Christians. It was all volunteer run. The food was given largely by Christians, but there were other people in the community who were just, bent that way, who would donate and things like that. But we need to get back to understanding, how do I care for my own? That's just kind of my position on it. Now, like I said, I can be wrong, I can be corrected, but that's where I'm at. Anyway, guys, it is time for me to go. Oh, y'all, I wish there needs to be a little green curtain to the person who's behind the curtain. Krista reminded me to give an update on our giving campaign. And we just did Tammy, I'll come to your comment right now. We just did a mid-year campaign from mid-April through the end of May. And I know some of you on here got shirts, and those will be sent. That is on me. But we did a giving campaign, and our giving campaign was really centered around our 5-year birthday. So in February, we were founded February 24th, 2020. And so February 24th, 2025, we became 5 years old. We are officially like not a toddler anymore. And so we did this campaign to celebrate just the faithfulness of God, to celebrate where he's brought us from. In 2020, we didn't think we were doing anything. We were just like, hey, look, maybe we'll go and, encourage a pastor to stay away from CRT, and that it's kind of like this divisive framework. But we had no idea. I had no idea that I was going to quit my job. It was not on my radar, not on my bingo card for 2020 at all. And so we started CFBU, we started a website only because Krista and I gave a talk on critical race theory at Biola in January of that year. And there were quite a few people who came up and were like, hey, I think that what you're talking about is what I'm actually dealing with. So Krista created a website. I didn't even know she was creating a website, y'all. And so that was literally it. It was like, well, we have a website. People can find us if they have questions. What? No business cards, no nothing. And then everything popped off in 2020 and people found the ministry. And I ended up needing to quit my job because I couldn't do both. Still didn't think we were going to be, doing this 5 years later. I did not envision 2025 with an office and a team of people and all of that. And so we, going back to the mid-year giving campaign, we actually asked for 100 people to donate $100 for our mid-year campaign as a way to celebrate our 5 years. We ended up having, I think the final total is 77. What is it?
No, it's more than that.
I think it's 77. That was my last total.
It's up to 80.
Okay, so we actually had 80 people. 81 people give through our mid-year campaign. The goal was to raise 100 people, $100, $10,000. We actually raised $15,000. And so we had people who gave $200 or $150 or larger or smaller. Some people gave $20. Like it was really, as I've said in all of the previous podcasts, it was just us coming together and celebrating the miraculous thing that God has done. And that is what CFBU is. Every time that I get, on a podcast or before a camera or whatever, I am literally talking to my family. And you guys, this is our ministry together. This is our family ministry. Like we make this go. There aren't big, huge grants coming in every month and, all of this, huge system of things that are working to keep it going. This is you guys and your support. And we are very, very grateful that we get to partner with you in doing this. And then we also get to partner with our team to be able to help their families flourish because they're working hard. So it's Krista and her husband, Bob, and we have April, who does all of our admin stuff, and Jameson, who works specifically with our donors. And then we have someone else coming on that I can't really tell you. I almost told you, but I'm gonna hold that one. But yeah, you guys, you can still give through midnight tonight. And on Tuesday, we will make a final announcement just because Tuesday gives me Monday to actually make sure all the things are settled and right. And so you guys, thank you. Please keep praying for us. Pray for wisdom. Pray for discernment. Pray that, for humility, that we will continue to remain humble. I think that people don't think about that enough. Like, how do we get on a podcast or go and talk to someone and make sure that our hearts are right in the right position? Yeah. And so it's just not easy. It's not easy all the time. And so, yeah, that is it, you guys. I am out of here. I will talk to you next week. Make sure to sign up for our Center for Biblical Unity app. And if you haven't, check out on our webpage the team book group that will be starting in just a few weeks on why social justice isn't biblical justice. And okay, this is the last time I'm saying it. Bye.